There's a system all of the top athletes use to build bounce that most people never hear about. It's not really a secret, but it's a science. So today we're going to break that down, the proven system that builds elite level verticals through sprinting, strength training, simple strength training, and smart jumping. So a common frustration most athletes have is they're grinding, they're jumping, they're lifting, they're working hard, but they still can't dunk, or they're not where they want to be in terms of their dunking. They're not hitting the trick dunks they want to hit, and they're not feeling as bouncy as they think they should be. So what's the missing piece? There's no structure. There's most of the time there's no coordination between their training and no plan that works with their actual body's needs, right? Point one, why jumping alone just doesn't cut it. So max jumps, they're a critical part of the puzzle of jumping higher, but only when they're supported by other aspects in your training, all right? So overdoing jumps without getting stronger, without doing strength training, that can mean burning out quite quickly, and you might get a bit of progress initially, but if you're past your younger years, you're past your teenage years, especially your younger teenage years, it can lead to burning out quickly and leading to no progress. So what's been your experience with that, Tom?
I was just going to say what you just said before in terms of you said you have to be in your younger teenage years or even like maybe potentially later teenage years. Downside of doing a lot of jumping, strength training is most of the time people just get hurt. So if you're hurt, you can't train. Avoiding that and doing it in the right amount of dosage, jumping in the right amount of dosage, is going to be of the utmost importance for 99% of the people listening to this.
No, 100%. And like a lot of the best jumpers, they go through a phase of jumping every day, but that's almost always when you're young, and it does set you up for a good foundation later on, but only if you can handle it. And most people can't handle it without getting hurt or getting injured. So that's where strength training comes in. That's where things like sprinting comes in, because it allows you to train more regularly and emphasize other qualities without getting hurt, essentially. So that's where sprinting comes in. Sprinting really can be the hidden source in jump training. Like it activates your fast twitch fibers through max intent, like that horizontal force. It can be translated into getting vertical and translating that into actually jumping higher. Like it teaches rhythm, it builds elasticity, it teaches your nervous system to fire more efficiently and more effectively. These are all key traits of elite jumpers, and many high flyers sprint effortlessly because they wired their body to move fast, essentially.
100%. 100%.
And I know that was a big part, and that's a big part of your training right now, Tom, and it's a big part of a lot of our athletes training right now as well.
Bro, I'd say like 90%, no, probably like 95% of them have max velocity sprinting in their training in some capacity. And obviously, like it varies person to person how much sprinting they have and how many times a week they're doing it. Again, that's very individual to who the person is. But yeah, most of them are doing sprinting, and most of them have seen benefit from sprinting. If not, would have said all of them have seen benefit from doing max velocity sprinting.
Absolutely. I, without a doubt, jump my best when I have a heavy involvement of sprinting, especially longer distances. My approach speed goes way up. I feel way more elastic. My muscles are just contracting faster. I think we lost for a second. I was reconnecting. But anyways, yeah, my muscles are contracting faster. Everything just feels way more effortless with sprinting. And our athletes report the exact same thing. So when you combine sprinting with simple strength training, that's like legal steroids, essentially. And combining that with jumping, I should say combining that with jumping. So combining sprinting, combining training, and combining jumping, combining those three things together, that's a system that, if you do for long enough, people are going to think you're taking something.
Yeah, no
you
shit,
get accused for it all.
Literally.
You get accused for it all the time, Tom.
Yeah, bro. People underestimate how far you can go, just like naturally, and how far your genetic limit actually is, given the right amount of time and given like actually the right training program. Because most people aren't training for long enough to see the results that we see, and secondly, they're not even training the right way to see the results. So there's just like no chance that it's gonna amount to that level. But again, like our athletes always see, as soon as they start implementing the principles we're talking about, they see the results they're being longing after.
Yeah. So the strength training, it gives you the raw strength and it gives you the horsepower to essentially jump higher. So like we're talking things like squatting, we're talking things like Romanian deadlifts, we're talking things like split squat variations, lunge variations, even machine work like leg press, hack squats. No, like don't ignore machine work either. In more isolated stuff like leg extensions, leg curls, calf raises, things like that. They all play a heavy role in getting you jumping higher. So the more force essentially your muscles can produce, the more muscular force your muscles can produce, the greater potential that's going to give you the jump higher. And if you're combining that with sprinting, you're combining that with going out and jumping regularly, that's going to give you that pop off the ground. It's going to get you jumping high. It's going to get your dunks feeling way more effortless. If you're doing these things right and applying these things right, it's impossible to not have that happen. Like strength is where most athletes unlock a lot of gains because they just simply haven't emphasized it enough in the past. Because, this coach is telling them, oh, they need to do this plyometric. Oh, you need to do tip raises. You don't need to get stronger. You need to do all these fascial drills. The secret is in doing the simple stuff well and doing it better over time and getting better at it, essentially.
That's it.
So
That's it.
And then the next thing is coordination and intent, right? Like this system works because everything feeds each other. They all complement each other. Like its strength improves your speed, it improves your elasticity, it builds your fast twitch muscle fibers, it makes you more reactive, right? And jumping, it teaches your body to essentially put it all together. It builds the coordination, it builds your technique, right? Because that's the specific thing you're trying to get better at. And then when you combine that with strength training, which is increasing how much horsepower your body is producing, how much muscular force your body is producing, you're ticking a lot of the boxes, a lot of the qualities needed to jump higher. And that's why combining these three things work, and combining these three things is such a potent and effective system because it's ticking all the things necessary you need to develop to jump higher, right? You're not just getting stronger and then ignoring your fast twitch fibers, ignoring building elasticity, ignoring reactive strength. All the boxes are being ticked here. So they all complement each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about technique drills, like jump technique drills? Why shouldn't I spam those every single day to get better technique and then not even worry about strength training because my technique's really good? Why can't I reach my vertical jump goals like that?
Typically, like I made a post about it today. It leads to overthinking, and overthinking kills any speed, it kills any rhythm, it kills a lot of coordination. And I see a lot of athletes get way too caught up in drilling themselves with technique drills and then just forget to just go out and jump. It's kind of like just doing a bunch of weird shooting drills all day. You're never actually going out and practicing shooting with intent under pressure. Which one, like, you might have to start off with a little bit of drilling, but if you rely too heavily on that, then it's going to hold you back. And we've seen it. At some point, you need to go out and jump, and you need to just do it with intent and not overthink and just try new things. And over time, your body is going to self-regulate and find its most optimal strategy to essentially jump higher. Right?
Yeah, because very quickly it gets to the point doing these technique drills for 99% of people because you've played sport growing up. Most people know how to jump. It gets to the point where it's almost like pouring a glass of water into the ocean. Like you're still contributing, but you're not actually seeing anything because what you're actually contributing is very minor compared to where all the other gains could actually be. And that's through the strength work, actually going out and getting your jumps in. These things are actually going to move the needle a lot more than sitting in your room and doing a 10% effort technique drill for an hour.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this is the foundation of your training, essentially, Tom. Like the bulk of your training has just been simple strength work, sprinting, and just going out and jumping. And like that's got you to a 48-inch vertical from what, 30 or less?
I don't know. Yeah, probably like low 30s, high 20s. So yeah, around 30.
Yeah, no, 100% the same here. Like I've added like 20 inches to my vertical, and that's been essentially the system that's got me to this point. Obviously, there's been like other things I've sprinkled in, like plyometrics and accessory work and all that. But the primary meat and potatoes has been those three things in my training, and it's the three things we utilize in most of our athletes training as well. Anything else is like the flavor, it's the sauce, it's the seasoning. But those three things we've found through a lot of trial and error and through helping hundreds and hundreds to thousands of athletes, those three things are the prime movers.
Oh, for sure, bro. It's like all the other stuff is good and all, having all the flavors all good, but you don't have a meal if you don't have the main ingredients, is the meat, which is the potatoes, maybe even a bit of broccoli. Maybe broccoli can be like split squash or something. But yeah, gotta have the main ingredients.
Like, we've had athletes make insane transformations from this system. Like, we've had Hack. I don't know how many inches he's had it added to his vertical. He couldn't even dunk when he started. Like, he was just like barely grabbing rim. Now he's windmilling easily and he's almost hitting an East Bay between the legs, in a couple years of work. So I would say like he's at least added 15 inches to his vertical.
I was thinking 15 as well, yeah.
Yeah, we've had guys absolutely explode their vertical, go from not dunking to hitting their first dunk in just 30 days. We've had guys completely fix years of debilitating jumpers knee, come out of that, and then hit their first dunk 3 months later. Like a guy like Riley, he comes to mind.
I was thinking Riley, yeah.
Walk downstairs.
Now we can windmill.
Yeah. So this system works and it's going to get you results if you stick with it and you apply it correctly, which brings me to how should you be applying it? How should you be implementing this system? Typically, what we do with guys is we would ideally, if they're healthy enough, get them jumping twice a week. All right, Tom?
Yeah. Wait, why did you say, all right, Tom? As in, like, do I agree? Of course.
Yeah, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Twice a week.
No, I don't agree with that, man.
3 times, unless you're 15 years old and weigh 60 kilos, 3 times a week would be pushing it. So typically we get guys, if they're healthy enough, jumping twice a week. If they're not healthy, at least once a week. Sprinting twice a week. On top of that, sometimes maybe 3 if they're super slow and they just need to emphasize getting faster. But typically twice a week. Strength training, lower body, twice a week. Typically, sometimes more if they're just a weak little kitten and they need to emphasize getting stronger. Quite heavily, it just really depends on the individual, right? And inside of that, depending on their goals, mixing in upper body, core work, the accessory stuff, mobility as well if they're really stiff and lacking mobility through their shoulders, hips, ankles, all that, right? But that's the general outline in terms of what we implement, and that's how we, I guess, treat it for ourselves. And this will change depending on the individual, depending on their injuries, depending on their age, depending on what they need to emphasize on their training, whether they need to get stronger, whether they need to get faster, whether they just suck at jumping and they need to emphasize technique more.
Yep.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Is there anything to add there, Tom?
Yeah, no. All that's really good. But yeah, the main things are those jump days and those leg session days. They're the main things that are going to be moving the needle and moving you towards your goal. All the other stuff is really good and can help, like even upper body can help you jump higher, of course, like just through arm swing. But relatively, it's going to help you less than the leg days. But that doesn't mean don't do upper body, because you may as well do everything that you physically can, jump as high as you physically can. That's just what I think.
Yeah. So when we say strength training, I should also clarify that includes upper body.
Oh, yes,
People
yes.
to forget that jumping involves your upper body, and a good arm swing can add like 10% to your jump in terms of its height, So if you get your upper body stronger, you get your trap stronger, you get your shoulders stronger, get your upper back stronger, all those muscles involved in your arm swing, it's going to help you jump higher. So you need to get stronger.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's more than 10% how much your arm swing contributes.
Or we'll say at a minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum, bro.
At least.
I was like, bro, if I like jumping without arm swings, like negative 10 inches. That's like probably 20%.
Probably same here. It would actually be a good test if you got you could do it on a vert trainer actually, but you have to use a height check. Like sort of height check without an arm swing. It'd just be weird. Like
it's an unfair test, I think, always, because it does throw off your natural human jump mechanics. Because the arms, they help you jump higher, but they're also like a counterbalance as well. They keep you. I don't know. I just it'd be cool. It'd be a cool test to do, but I think it would be slightly unfair.
You can't really
Something like
isolate it
that.
because your body works as a system
Yeah,
as well.
that's what I was trying to say.
You know, everything
That's a
works
good way of
together.
putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So to jump higher, it's not just about jumping more. It's not about only doing strength work. It's not only about doing plyometrics. You need a system behind what you're doing, and that system and what is proven through ourselves and so many athletes with help is sprinting, jumping, and just generally getting stronger. Anything outside of that is really sauce, is really seasoning. You know, it will contribute a little bit, but that's the bulk of what you need to work on essentially in your training. Everything else is just noise, you know, it's just, yeah. So if you want to transform your vertical and you want to become an absolute freak of nature, this is how you do it.
Simple as that.
So if you guys are wanting to get coached by us, there's a link down below as always, but we hope this podcast helped you out and you got a lot of value from it. If you've got any questions, leave it down below and we'll do it the best we can to answer them. But we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See yous.